allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. 3.0, approval of the agenda. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that. And any question? Thoughts? Not those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. All right, that carries. No public comment I see tonight. 5.0, the consent agenda. We need a motion for approval. Did you say that, John?
Yep.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Mark? All right, and staff, any questions on that? Right, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, then 6.0 is the communication reports. Denise Smith, do you first?
Yes, good evening. So in my report, I showed, what I included was the spring 2024 booklet results. It was busy and was pretty successful, but you can kind of see all the things that we offered. Also in your packet was the summer activity packet for like youth, and then we also included the adult flyer. For Wolverine workout this summer, we have 67 signed up for it already, which is more than last year. Summer rec started last Friday. We currently have 141 kids in our program. We have a staff of 21, which includes Cassandra Strummer and Amy Schwab as co-directors. It takes a small army to make that work because it's a lot of kids to coordinate. And it does end on July 16th. We decided to discontinue softball. One of the reasons is that we can't find teams to play against. There were no other teams in our league offering softball anymore. It just got to be more difficult, and our numbers were such where we just felt we couldn't continue with that. Bold no longer even fields teams for the league. But we're really trying to grow our tennis program because we figure that can be something that we can add as an offering, especially for the girls that maybe don't want to play ball. So we're seeing our numbers increase on that. And then we're going to have 9 T-ball games again with Deb and Brian Grant coordinating that. And that's June 18th and the 25th, and that's hugely popular. Again, we're offering shuttle buses from Maynard and Clare City. Night baseball, a lot of kids are doing that. We have 87 players. We have 30 in 3rd and 4th grade, 29 in 5th and 6th grade, and 28 in 7th and 8th grade. In the packet was the volunteers that we have coaching, which we have a great list of that. It'll be nice to have the 2 extra fields next year because there's always a shortage of fields. And it's a lot of coordinating and juggling between all the teams because the softball program also has teams in the evening. Raymond Rockets is going to do a youth baseball night on July 19th, so I think that's a great offering. Kids are going to get free hot dogs and chips and stuff, so it'll be fun. And as you saw, for the adults, we're offering tennis, sail, sand volleyball, and a twins game coming up in August. Our youth scholarship fund has a high use in the summertime because we do offer so many different things, and it's nice to be able to offer that to families. We do get some private donations to that also. I'd like to recognize Steph and Adam Vogel for donating some money towards the scholarship fund. Pickleball lines, they were painted last week on the elementary double gym, so we're excited by that. Don't have to crawl on the floor with tape anymore, so that'll be a welcome change along with Leanne. She was there with me. So for our adult basic education program, we're going to add daycare in the fall. I've been working with Merved, who actually hires the teachers or pays for the teacher of it. They don't necessarily hire daycare personnel for it. So Greta Gervais has been hired as the daycare provider for that. It'll be on site here. Merved will be paying for some of that, but we also got a 2180 Foundation grant to cover that expense. So I think that will really remove some of the barriers of our adult learners to come to it. So we're pretty excited by that. The community garden is going. If you ever drive past there, just a lot of great things happening there with all the gardeners. We are in the process of adding security cameras and signage that it's under surveillance. Unfortunately, we have theft, especially in the fall with watermelons and pumpkins. So I'm working with Noel on Auditorium, we're moving to an online ticketing program through Vanco Events. We'll still be able to take cash and checks in person if people don't feel comfortable doing it online, so we're working towards that. Facility use in the spring was huge. A lot of different groups used either the auditorium or the cafeterias. Couple things coming up that'll be fun. The Wilmer Orchestra will be here through Prairie Fest, and that's July 11th. And I just lined up the Looney Lutherans to be here on October 5th. So I don't know how loony the Lutherans are, but I heard it's a pretty good show. Just wanted to mention the 2180 Foundation. As you know, we had our fundraiser this spring, and we raised close to $25,000, which is amazing. A couple years back, we were always happy if we made 10,000. So it's really grown in just the last 4 years. So it's really, I'm excited to see those numbers improve. And then we gave grants of $10,500 to teachers and advisors for some of their programs this spring. Any other questions or questions of me?
I just had a question with the online ticket program for the auditorium.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something where you can like pick your seats as well, or is it just a?
You
just a
could
ticket?
have that feature.
Okay.
As of right now, we're just gonna have open seating. What happens with reserved, sometimes you need 5 tickets, but you can't find 5 seats together.
Yeah.
So it gets to be a juggling act, and then you might not actually even fill the auditorium because you have a seat here and a seat here, and it just gets to be kind of more complicated. So I think as we get more involved in it and learn more about it, it could always be added. Each event is, you could set it up that way.
Oh.
So maybe, if, for an event it makes sense, we probably would do that. I know even for graduation, we can use that system to do tickets. It wouldn't be reserved, but my understanding is like a senior family gets like 8 tickets. So it can be used that way too. So there's a lot of possibilities for that.
Thanks.
Mhm.
And Jim will talk a little bit more about the Vanco tickets too, as it's connected to athletics and everything.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Denise. All right, Jim, you're up next.
Well, good evening. You can see I have a long one tonight, and plus we have the resolution, so get comfortable. But I'm not going to read all these first ones. You can 1 through 4 there. Look how the boys tennis, softball, baseball, and golf team ended up, and I mentioned a few players that went on the second day there. So you can kind of look individually. I do want to acknowledge the track team because it just turned out to be probably the most successful season for many years. I can't remember how far back, but I would say it's been 20 years since we probably had this much success as a team and for individuals. The girls won the Camden Conference meet for the first time in many years. It's the first time since we've been paired, I know that much. We had roughly 24 athletes qualify for the section meet in Laverne. 8 of those in 6 different events made it to the state tournament in St. Michael Albertville this past weekend. And the girls did finish in 4th place in the section meet. Again, a very, very competitive section, and this is where there's only 2 classes, so we're competing against schools the size of Morris and Monty, and schools that are actually in Laverne and that are quite a bit larger than we are. Down below, moving on to state, I'll just give you their places. Brady Heiling made it in the shot put and took 14th place. The girls 3,200 2-mile, Sam Holmgren got 15th place. Boys pole vault, Jack Miller just has continued to improve, and I tell you, when I went in, it takes your breath away when you see where these guys are at. They moved, because of the wind, they moved it to an inside facility, and he was just doing phenomenal and so close to that last one, but he ended up getting 4th place in state. So that up to that point, that's the highest place we've ever had since the pairing, at 13 feet 6 inches. Boys 400 there, Javin is an RCW student. He took 13th. Girls triple jump. This was pretty impressive. It was Corey Brisley's first year of ever even competing in track, and to take on a triple jump, which is so much technique. And it's too bad, if you can really perfect your steps. And she probably had another 12, 15 inches. And but she had a phenomenal season there, 13th place. And then the girls 4x400, Corey Brisley, Braille Jansen, Ella Keenitz, and Annie Bourne, they took 3rd place in the 4x400. So that's the way I understand it from Coach Shackelford, that's the highest place that we've ever had since the pairing took place. But congratulations to all of them. See, and then number 6, I'll just let you look at, we put a bunch of the team records, obviously, we'll have a new one now with the pole vault, that shows some of the records that we set during the season, and I didn't put that in here, but many of these records were broke multiple times throughout the season. Want to congratulate the whole coaching staff, especially Coach Shackelford. He was selected by the coaches of Section 3A as Coach of the Year this year. So that was quite an accomplishment for him as well, but as any coach will say, that's you can get things like that when your athletes are performing and working hard too. So I know he'd give them credit for that. Number 8, Benson School District again applied for the Camden. This is a little different circumstance. Ortonville, if you remember, applied to us 3 times, and then the state high school league got involved and signed them. Benson has chosen to leave the West Central Conference. If they choose to leave the West Central, then the state high school league doesn't get involved because they had a conference. They just chose not to be included with it. There's nothing against Benson. We play them in a lot of different activities. There's 2, I don't know if I want to say complications, but I can't think of things holding many of us back. You'll see the vote failed 7-5, and according to our bylaws, they would have had to have gotten 9 votes to pass. But one of the complications is having an odd number when we have north-south classes. Then all of a sudden the south has 6 and we have 7 up here. Another complication or problem is, Tracy's one of the original Camden Conference schools, and they haven't threatened this, and they say every time we don't want to be the reason, but there is a strong chance that they would leave the conference as well, which so many of us have a good competitive relationship with them in a lot of different activities, that we would hate to lose that also. And then we've lost again another one of the original Camden schools, and that is really a big part of the reason RTR left us as well, just because there were so many northern schools. Travel was pretty high distance. But before I move on, are there any questions about that? And I do keep Josh in the loop on that discussion. So for next year, I am recommending a change for some of our admission prices. I'd like to change the adult ticket from 6 to 7, but keep the student at 4, moving our adult season pass from 80 to 85, and the student season pass from 40 to 45. And I did do some research with the rest of the conference just to see where we're in line, and you can see there Lakeview is 8-5, Minneota is 8-4. CMCS, Canby, Dawson, Boyd, Lackaprout, TMB, and YME are 7-5, so we'd be right in line with the majority of them. At this time, KMS, Ortonville, and RCW is still 6-4, but when I did this in early May, it doesn't mean there can't be other changes. But if we make that change, I just wanted to see that we'd still be right in line and still not be the highest in the conference either. Someone did make a motion at our conference meeting that if we could all try to be the same, and we basically said, that's pretty much up to our school boards, of what we want to do for our local schools. Our conference can make that decision based on like our north-south and our championship games, but the conference can't make the decision on what we want to do as individual schools. Number 10, as Denise started, I'd like to begin offering online ticket options through Banco. It is getting to be much more common. I noticed a difference this year at the state tournament compared to even last year at track, how last year there were people standing outside trying to figure out on their phones, and it seemed to be a pretty good flow. And that's one of the reasons I do know this is going to be coming, I really believe, to all schools at some point. I thought, why don't we be proactive and start our public with doing it now. Montevideo does it for most of their events. Wilmer, I think Wilmer actually requires, don't hold me to that, but I don't even know if they offer a cash option there. But we don't want to do that at this point. We want to give people that option. They can come up, and if they want to buy their tickets ahead of time, that's one thing that will get them through the door a little bit. Some of these really busy activities, when CMCS comes here to play, we got a line 30 feet out the front door, and 2 people trying to do that. I mean, and that'll be one of the convenient things is if they buy their tickets ahead of time, or even we can have what is it called? QR code right outside. They would be able to do it on the spot while they're in line, and then they'll walk up, and we'll just have an iPad or something there, and they'll be able to just bypass the line and walk right in and scan, and I think it's gonna speed up our lines. And as people catch on, I just think we'll have more and more people using it, and we'll promote it, obviously not force it or expect it, but we'll continue to promote it, and we'll continue to have a cash box there. Some of the other reasons, well, I just said, they can buy it earlier, get through more quickly. It's gonna help our record keeping. We are pulling tickets, anybody that's ever done that, it's so chaotic. It'll be a much easier job to try to be on, I guess, more correct on who are coming in and so on. Better organization is finding the assigning seats, and that's something we have talked about for like the musical, where we put a lot of people in there and things like that. We have the ability to assign if we want to go that way. We just don't know until we get it and start playing with it, what we're gonna do. But this is a definite option. And as Denise said, down the road graduation, that's something they may wanna do too. But if you want, let's get started. We already work with Vanco on our website, so it's not a new program to us. And you'll see down below, some of the other schools use GoFan. It's the same type of thing, but we don't want to switch, considering we're already working with Vanco for some of our other things in our system, or in our school district. Better use of resources. Before Kathy and now Tim Beesman, they spent lots and lots of time with Cashbox. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours and hours a week. This is gonna really help if people do that, where there's just gonna be way less time spent on that. So it's gonna be better use of us. And I think with the people coming through and using it, it's not gonna be so difficult for our ticket takers. We always have to keep in mind how much money we have out there. I mean, there's times we have thousands and thousands out of that front gate. And now we won't have that much. So I think from a security standpoint, it's probably smarter as well. And then right below that, I put the Camden schools. There's only a couple at this point using GoFan. A lot of the other schools, I will tell you, there's a couple of them, I'm not gonna mention, they are in favor, but at this point, their superintendents have told them no, just because they kind of have the attitude, and it's not wrong, but they have the attitude, if it's not broke, why fix it? And I think there's a lot of positive things that we're gonna move forward with this, and it's gonna help us. Again, before I move on, are there any questions about that?
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Are you still gonna be offering the punch pass?
I would assume, yeah, good question. I had something else on here with that. We haven't talked too much about that, but I don't want to take away the ability, because that punch pass does save them a little bit more also.
And then also like if you buy a adult season pass, can you get that on your phone too?
Okay, that was one of the things I missed here. We have problems with that. Every year people lose them. They walk through, oh yeah, I have a season pass, and yet we have different ticket takers every single week, and the public just automatically assumes if they walk by and say, I got a season pass. I know there's people that one spouse buys them and the other one doesn't, and then they share it. One of the things about this is they could buy a season pass through this Vanco, and then they're going to get an individual ticket for every single McCray event throughout the year. So it's going to get rid of that. Now once it's lost, someone picks it up, because there's no, we can never track, there's a number, but there's no pictures associated with it or anything. It's going to, I just think it's going to help us even a little bit financially, because they lose passes and someone else is coming in with it, and they're coming in saying, did you look up, I have a pass? They're saying, okay, go ahead, we know you bought one. And then probably have two people using the same pass. So this way they'll just get one ticket for every single event on their phone and be able to go through with that. So there'd be no more hard cards for that. But again, I'm not against keeping the punch cards. We just kind of gotta figure out if we're gonna do it exactly the same, and we'll just avoid the Vancouver for that part and Cole. So, yes.
Question about the seating for the auditorium through that Vanco. Would you be able to do like first 10 rows are reservable and then general admission? Would they be able to split something up like that?
I would have to ask that question. I'm not sure if they have the ability to do one event and have two options on that, but I'll write that question down and ask.
I think
Well-
they do. They're a pretty big
Just
group
one
that you could probably reserve a spot to park and a seat, and the time you want to use the restroom.
I would guess you could black all those seats out.
Yeah.
so they
Yeah,
can't
that's
be
true, too.
taken.
Yeah.
So that'd be my guess.
No option.
Denise is more the pro on this.
Yeah, I'll check on that then.
Also, too, I think it should go down on record with that Vanco too, is that, let's say it is an auditorium use, and you need an ADA seat, those are also labeled that way. So, I mean, you could do it based on needs of your clientele too.
Yeah.
Which would be very helpful for like a graduation, because when you give them a paper ticket, you don't know what their needs are until they walk through the door. So being able to just say, these are my needs are very helpful, so. I appreciate Denise's and Jim's effort in that homework, so.
So would it be like where they could actually select their seat, or are you just gonna, is it a seat just assigned, but it's reserved?
Well, what my understanding is, so like you go on the system or whatever and you buy like 4 tickets. You'll get something on your phone that says you bought 4 tickets with their names and so forth. But that's for open seating. For reserved, you would then, if it's reserved, we set it up that way, you would go on there and just like you probably have seen like Chanhassen and some of those others where they have where you can click.
You click on the seat that you want.
Yeah. So that would be the reserve.
Like your seats on an airplane,
Right.
and we don't know if we're gonna do it yet, if we're not full, there's probably not that much of a reason for it, but actively.
We've never had an event where, well, except maybe for graduation, where there's been like the music or whatever, there's been plenty of seating, or we haven't ran into that. But yet I know some people would prefer to have reserved because they want to be in a certain spot because their child is going to be on that side of the stage more, so we understand that too. I think we'll learn a lot this first year as far as what really works and what the public wants. I think it's important to kind of see what that looks like. If we start getting public requests for more of that, I think that's the direction we can look into more. I just think for, to keep it simple this year, we just kind of have open seating. But I'll answer that question if we could do some first rows for that same event.
Well, I think some people have to get there an hour and a half early to save a seat, and if they could reserve it, it might alleviate some of that, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't have a huge rush when the doors open.
Right, yeah, it's a nice convenience to know where you're gonna be sitting. I think with that, you'd have to have like maybe 1 or 2 ushers to make sure you're not taking spots that aren't supposed to be yours. Kind of like you show them where you're supposed to be, and then, kind of like the barn theater, where you show them the members and usher.
We could have Mrs. Tenson do that.
Yeah, we'll have to do that.
And if you're curious at home or, outside of this time, if you just go into a browser and just type in Vanco, near us or whatever, you can find schools in the area. Benson is one that does it. There's others that are smaller and bigger. You can see what their platform looks like. And then there's a button on there too. You can look at even their past examples, so you can see what their school calendar looked like. And they've got really nice things documented in there that, let's say if it is an outdoor activity. We did have a football game in which we did get rained out on a Friday, and then we had to come back on a Saturday and play it. Well, that might work for some, but that now maybe some of that population can't attend. There's ways for Jim and Denise to go in there and actually do give them their money back through the program. Or if it's something that there is no, this is a one-time thing, then it's documented in there that if you purchase this ticket and you can't make it, that's just on you. But yeah, look through that. Just look at Vanco and some neighboring schools, see what they have.
And with that, one of the recommendations where if they just choose not to come, we can't be going in constantly and doing $7 refunds. They're gonna have to eat that, but it did say that if all of a sudden we have an event rained out, that there's a way to go in. Correct. We're not gonna make
Something they
you do
can't
that.
control.
Right.
Yeah.
But if they just choose not to come, we're gonna get work if we start giving.
Well, that's what the barn theater does. If you don't show up, that's on you.
Yeah.
You just donated to the barn theater.
Yeah.
I do think it's important though to keep the cash option.
We will.
Yes.
I've seen
No, that's-
all the people sticking,
That's not an option. We're not even considering that offering.
So what sort of fee is there on top of this, and will the person who buys the ticket have to pay that fee, or does the school need that?
Right now, in activities, I just thought we need it. It's great.
1%, 3% of the ticket cost?
It's 50 cents per ticket,
Okay.
and then I think it's
4%.
4%. Similar to what we have for lunch or other charges.
So it costs like 80 cents on an adult ticket.
Okay.
and we are raising the price.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to just throw this out as a thought. Kind of along tickets and whatnot, but I don't know right now, just because of the school meals are free for families, but I think there could be a lot of families who have student athletes that might struggle to have to get the whole family to one of the events. I don't think other schools have ever done this, but again, can we be a leader by at least considering it? Where if you've got a student athlete, you're gonna get your ticket for half price or something like that, so that we can really encourage families the whole family to be able to come, because 9 times out of 10, they're gonna go to the away games as well as the home games, but if there's something we can do to alleviate some of the financial stress for families at home games, is there a way we give it to grandparents for free? What is it, 50 or 60, anybody older?
65.
65? So just wondering if that's something that we could visit about, or think about, or maybe consider.
Well, that's kind of why we do that punch card, because if they truly buy the punch card, and we'll accept them next year, so they don't expire. But if they buy a punch card, it's not for one kid, it can be for anybody in the family, and that turns out to be $2.50. So that's, you have 4 kids, you get them in the night for $10 total.
Not everybody might have that $40 to $45 to pay for it upfront.
20.
Well,
That's
I think that's-
something other things.
Well, another option to consider with that is more free nights, or, homecoming free with a button or a McRae shirt, or, I don't know.
And we've been doing that in every
Yes,
sport.
and
Already.
we've also had businesses sponsor at night.
Yeah.
Kids.
We're giving them quite a few options through
Yeah.
the year with, I know Noble Insurance has paid nights for both. I know we have, who's ever involved with these elementary activities, they get let in free, and they're coming a lot between the little, cheerleaders and the football players at the games, and every level of basketball, every single night they come to participate, they get in free.
Yeah.
and I think when you think about the parents, so they're paying for the shoes, they're paying for all the other equipment that sometimes goes with it, plus the gas running student athletes back and forth for practices, so if that's something that, if you guys would talk about, see if there might be possibilities, or,
Something better than the
yeah,
$250.
yeah.
I will tell you that, a concern of mine, what I've shared with people individually, but when we have that, there are so many kids there that have no parents there. It is a babysitting service like you can't imagine. There's so many kids running all over this school. I go down, and one night this year I found 25 kids having a pickup basketball game in the elementary gym, and that's closed off. That's one of the problems with it, is when we start having that,
We
people
can
come out
lock
of the
things
woodwork.
down though, right?
No, we can't lock that off. There's a fire escape. That whole area is open.
Well, maybe then it's something they have to be present with a parent.
Yeah.
And
And I have-
sometimes then you can still have the same.
And I have considered maybe getting those younger elementary kids out of that student section, because they don't watch the game at all. They run wild. We have kids fall every once in a while. I kind of find them climbing underneath the bleachers, and they're the ones, I don't think I'm exaggerating. There's elementary kids that run out to the hall, I would say 30 to 40 times. And I don't think they would do that if mom and dad were with them.
Well, I remember when my kids were young, there was always a principal standing by the doors, and you sit down until it's halftime. Go sit down. I mean,
Well, maybe with the Banco thing too, like for community ed, there's a scholarship fund for participation. Maybe there's something where there could be a pool for, if there's a coupon code or something that a parent could put in and use that. I don't know if they have, I haven't seen that, but maybe that would allow for a more digital way to use it, kind of a scholarship fund or something like that.
Very good idea.
And I don't think that, but
Yeah, we'll try to look at more options.
again, I just think if we're gonna support our student athletes, it starts at home, so.
Okay, any other questions for Jim?
Or do we get to watch the video?
No, yep. So, okay, we'll skip the, why we play video with the athletes. I figured you were all here last year, so
Yeah.
we can do that every other year, but I'll go through the PowerPoint with you briefly, and then we'll watch the other video with Eric Mertens from the State High School League. Then we'll be done. Mitch's is longer than my report, so.
Right here.
Okay, this is just one of the things we're expected to every year before we vote on to be a member of the state high school league again and do the resolution, why we play. We are an education-based co-curricular program, extension of the classroom. This is something that a lot of people aren't aware of. We sometimes will have to get after kids for breaking some rules, or maybe they do something in school and they don't understand why we're getting after them in their activity. And we have to explain that to parents, that this is an extension of the classroom. The classroom comes first during the day, but we still have the same code of conduct and everything, all of the expectations when they're still representing our school. Want to emphasize growth and improvement, reward effort, not just winning. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Give permission to fail, focus on the process more than the outcome, and on the student first, athlete second. And this is really difficult with club programs, because club programs are win at all costs. Let's put the best athletes together, and if you're not one of the best ones, you're going to be sitting on the sidelines and we really don't care about you. And that's maybe a little extreme, but I mean, that's kind of the club mentality, and that's not the mentality of the state high school league. Or at least a state high school league school. It's not supposed to be our mentality. Again, we are not AAU, JO clubs or travel teams, and it's not that they're bad. This just gives them another opportunity to excel. And we still want our activities in our high schools and junior highs to be able to allow kids to not be a star and still, be able to participate and be part of a team. Goals versus purpose. Goal of our athletic program is to win games. That is the goal of every coach. It's hopefully the goal of every single athlete that's on those teams. We prepare, plan, and play to win, but that is not our purpose. The purpose of our athletic program is teaching and learning, human growth and development, connecting students to caring adults. We want to try to make these student athletes better people. Let them grow up in society and be proud of what they did, because how often are they looking back and thinking, hey, remember that one year when we beat RTR twice? That usually doesn't happen, but some of the relationships they built and other things that they learned, maybe about just their work ethic. There's people that have been high school athletes and then when they're 40 they choose to become a marathon runner, and yet they never ran cross country or track in school, but the dedication and disciplines and stuff they learn through their high school league sports has contributed to that when they choose to do that later in life. Less than 1% will have a career in professional sports. Less than 3% of high school athletes will play beyond high school at any level. That's very low. That's including, junior college and so on. And that's, again, a lot of times you look at the athletes and how much time they're putting in, and that's really good. It's nice to have that dedication, that discipline. But when they get done with this, they're usually done. I said this last year, but what a horrible way to put that. But have a terminal experience, and again, that just means when they get out of high school, they're done with that. Most kids are never playing football again. I'm sure most of us would like to until that first hit. And even I've seen people they can do pickup basketball and then they blow their Achilles tendon when they're 40. These things it's going to end for us usually at high school. Value of education-based athletics. I won't read each one of them. Again, less likely to use drugs, tobacco, or suffer from health issues. That's not saying that none of them do. I do get that thrown at me sometimes. Oh, I know athletes do that too. I'm never saying they're not. It just says statistically they're less likely to. Better attendance rates, and we push that hard in our school, that they have to be here all day unless they have doctor appointments or a funeral or there's special exception to the rule, that they're expected to be in school all day in order to practice or participate. Higher graduation rate, higher SAT and ACT scores, greater post-secondary opportunities. We wear them out, so they sleep better at night. I sometimes question about the healthier diet, but all my years of wrestling hasn't seemed to work out that way for me, so I'm not sure. My purpose, to lead and encourage students in the McRae School District to participate in activities that interest them. Promote the understanding that although excellence is very important, being a good teammate, having high character, being reliable, dedicated, and selfless are more important life lessons that activities can teach. Definition of success. And again, this varies in the community, and it does vary with coaches. And that's why one of the reasons I show this at our coaches meeting. They need to, oftentimes coaches were very successful athletes at the high school level and then maybe in college level. So their attitude might be more of that club mentality. They have to be reminded of what our goal really is here. Works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes. Sometimes they have to rein themselves back in. Defining success, change the question. If you notice, not at the top, there's nothing here that says, did you win? And that is so funny. I believe that as parents, because I used to do it myself. If I wasn't able to go and my kids would get home from whatever event, I know darn well I said, did you win or lose tonight? That was the first thing I asked. But did you do your best? Did you help others succeed? What did you learn? Did you have fun? That one, I think we need to start emphasizing more. We shouldn't have kids with ulcers and having hair come out of their head and so on. And some kids go through that stress. How did you help make it fun? Did you improve? How will you get better tomorrow? Did you conduct yourself well? Were you a great teammate? How did you handle winning? Or if they lost, same thing, how did you handle losing? So I'm not going to show this video this year. Save that 6 minutes. Deb, I saw that. Communication plan, we still. This has been board approved over the years by you guys for our activities handbook, excuse me. When there are problems, and I really emphasize this with people because I hear this in the last 7 years. I can't tell you how often parents, they're scared to go talk to the coach. That might be. I'm scared to go talk to Mr. Austin sometimes. So it's, but that's not bad for us. Many of us, we scared to go talk to our boss. That is a good thing for them to experience. They have to go talk to someone else. I've also heard quite a few times, we don't want the coach to hold it against them. I do not believe that for a minute. And if we had coaches that would do that, I wouldn't have them coaching for us. Coaches like kids. Coaches might get mad at parents, and coaches might be frustrated with something the athlete's done, but I think it's really important that we emphasize that they need to continue to do this. Our coaches are not going to punish them if the kid comes respectfully and asks questions. Second one, if that doesn't get resolved, athlete and parent talk to the coach. And this is number 3. Parents like to bypass the first 2. They want to call me immediately. And I'll usually listen, and then if I have to, I'll meet with them and the coach. But I really emphasize they have to follow this chain of command. You cannot just bypass because you don't want that uncomfortable conversation. And oftentimes, they're probably going to hear things, they're probably going to hear truths that their child hasn't told them. That's something we always have to remember. There's going to be part of the story. There's oftentimes things are going to be left out. Third one, athlete, parent, coach, and AD talks to the superintendent. And then the last one, parents can come address the school board. We've never had that I recall since I've been here. The only thing I really want to request of you guys too is it gets real easy for them to contact you as board members. When they do that, and then you come to a board meeting and you bring up this problem that I've never heard about, it's really difficult for me because I'm not going to have an answer. It's really important that you guys push this. When they call you, you need to say, go back to the activities handbook. The first thing is has your child talk to the coach. But because if you allow them to do that, they're going to continue to come back to you. And then you also have that reputation and more parents will continue to do it. Eventually it may still come to you, but I still think we need to follow this chain of command so we have consistency. So I'd appreciate it if you guys would continue to do that. Okay. And that's it. So we'll show this last video and then we'll let Mitch go. Unless you have any questions about the PowerPoint.
Hi, I'm Eric Martins, Executive Director here at the Minnesota State High School League, and thank you so much for taking time to watch this video. The Minnesota State High School League is a dynamic partnership of more than 600 schools, reaching all communities and corners of the state. Our mission is to provide educational opportunities in fine arts and athletics for all students. The 2023-24 school year was a great one for the league. As we look ahead to the upcoming school year, there are some exciting things that we are working on. We have revealed is operated as a 10th through 12th grade organization, but now The league is considering bringing all ninth grade participants and contests under the governance of the league. That would make us a 9th through 12th grade organization. This would allow all ninth grade participants valuable insurance coverage in the event of injury or a concussion. Welcoming ninth graders in this way would be a monumental change and one that is overwhelmingly supported by our member schools. A change like this will require action from member schools. So look for more information coming from the league in the beginning of the 24-25 school year. To be fully engaged members of the league, our schools are required to commit to following all league rules. These rules have been collectively established and are critical to ensuring safe experiences, equitable opportunities, and fair play for our participants. That's why we continue to expand our efforts to share and inform all schools about requirements and expectations so everyone can do their part. As educational models continue to change, we're seeing a number of newer schools, primarily online schools, in which our Minnesota students are now enrolling. This sometimes raises questions about students who are taking courses in more than one school. In response, we're re-examining our current practices related to participation and eligibility, considering ways to most effectively provide opportunities for students to participate. We're pleased to report the league continues in a strong financial position. To strong tournament attendance, supportive and collaborative partners and sponsors, wise investments, and fiscal responsibility. As a result, it's very likely that this coming year's membership fees, after credits, will be the lowest in nearly 30 years. As always, our top priority remains the same: to promote and support safe, inclusive environments, participation, and competition. We want all of our high schools to provide activities focus on educating our students and are free from discrimination, harassment, and marginalization. Together we make a difference with design to amplify the voices and advance the vision of our students to ensure respectful and safe schools and environment.
It's important to feel safe because within that you're able to perform the way you want to and you're able to give the results you want to. My personal opinion, when I'm not comfortable, I'm not giving all I can.
It takes a team of dedicated adults like you to provide the kind of programming our students deserve. That's why the league and its schools are focused on recruiting, retaining, and supporting our coaches, officials, and administrators.
As an education-based activities director, there's nobody more important than a coach or an advisor for our students, whether it's in the fine arts or athletics, because we know that each child is one spirit adult away from changing their path of their life.
If you look at or listen to any successful person talking about how they got there, they never did it alone. There's always a mentor. And so we need those types of leaders in our schools today to help our young people understand what it means to be a strong, supportive person within their community.
Sometimes the most enduring lessons our students learn happen through activities beyond the classroom. So it's our goal to focus on enhancing the education of students through a broad range of opportunities that extend the traditional curriculum.
When alumni come to speak, one thing I always hear is, they remember those big moments, but they also remember what led up to them. Everything that they've done to prepare and how those coaches, those experiences have helped prepare them.
At the Minnesota State High School, it's about more than membership. It's about partnership. We have seen that when our member schools commit to common principles and expectations, we all experience the benefits that come from the shared responsibility to provide safe, respectful, and inclusive activities for all of our students.
To do our best for student athletes and participants, we need to be good partners to one another and collaborate with other schools and the Minnesota State High School League. Every single one of us has an important role to play in making sure that our students have the very best opportunities and experiences when they are participating in activities.
Nothing is more important than the well-being of our students. Participation in activities is a great way to enhance our students' overall health, both physically and mentally.
I think it's really, really important that every high school student finds something to be involved. Finding some way to get involved in your school and in your community is so important. It not only positively benefits your mental health, but helps you improve as a person, helps you grow, helps you make connections with other people.
It's the importance of it's something and it has helped me for the future because these activities help you gain skills such as time management and communication.
Giving students these valuable opportunities is the mission of Minnesota State High School League. Looking around the state this year, we've seen high participation numbers, packed venues, and enthusiastic support from school communities. And together, we have a bright future ahead. On behalf of the Minnesota State High School League, I thank everyone in all of our member schools for your continued active support, because it's about more than membership, it's about partnership.
Done.
Right. Thank you, Jim. Okay, Mitchell Kent.
All right, good evening, everybody. Jim, I just gotta say real quick that if your report was a flight, they definitely would have been serving a meal on that. So mine will not be as long as Mr. Trulock, but it will be a shade longer than Mr. Wheatley's is. So for starters, with hiring, we did end up hiring an elementary and middle school counselor, and that was Drew Anderson. So very excited to have her back here. She did a lot for us this past year as she was finishing up her degree and getting her license. So I'm excited to have her here, and I think she's going to do a great job with the kids, being she has those relationships already built with them. So that should be a easy, seamless transition to have her back. Reading curriculum. I know I did say we did choose Open Court, so that has been ordered. They let us know before that it would take a while to get here, but I believe they're taking a while, was like 3 to 4 weeks. And I think the last time we ordered a curriculum, it took more like 3 or so months, because we were still getting some of it in November, December. So all of this should be here in plenty of time. Not just for the school year to get rolling, but for the teachers to get their hands on it and have an opportunity to start to look through that. And we will have some in-person trainings prior to the start of the school year for that as well. And that's included in what we purchased, so that'll be nice to have them come in with that. The schedule for the upcoming school year, and I say complete for both that rosters and schedule, tentatively complete. Obviously, there's always going to be a slight tweak or change or addition to things. I would say some schedule highlights. Obviously, we have one less section of kindergarten this coming year. So that just provided, it's crazy even just what kind of flexibility that provides when putting a schedule together. So big things are that I can think of here. We added 10 to 15 minutes to every reading block, just because looking at the new reading curriculum and what the time kind of requires for that. So we want to make sure that teachers don't have to rush through that. We added 5 minutes to our specials times. So instead of 25 minutes, we were able to go up to 30 minutes for music and FIED, and STEAM was at 50 minutes, but that's going to be at an hour for second through fifth grade and first grade and kindergarten. We had a half hour each for that. And STEAM will be every third week again. Something that we tried this last year, because we didn't want to lose out on academics, was to shorten up lunch, shorten up recess, and kind of we tried to do a hybrid and combine the two. That did not work out the way I hoped it would. On both ends, some of the students who were coming in last maybe felt a little bit rushed trying to get their lunch done. And on the flip side then, luckily we had a kind winter, but any of the times that there was a little bit more, whether it be a slightly longer, bigger lunch that kids had to get through, or getting their snow gear on, it was a shorter recess. So what we did do is I put them in 2 separate blocks for the upcoming school year, just because before it was 40 minutes and it was supposed to be, kind of a clear line at 20 and 20, but that's hard when it's all together. So lunch, students will have 25 minutes instead of the 20 minutes for that this year. And recess, depending on some of the grade level needs, recesses will be 25 to 30 minutes long. So I'm excited just to have a more clear, concise, and a little bit longer time frames for each of those. So just know that if one grade level is 5 minutes less, it is because of the needs that they need, like what was requested for their scheduling purposes. And with the schedule, I did get input from classroom teachers, and then for some of the larger parts, we talked with our SPED teachers, with our title staff, with our with Sonia and Star for our more multilingual areas, just to make sure that everything was covered and everyone had some input and say with that. Classroom rosters are also complete as of right now. Obviously, we're going to get a few students will leave us over the summer, a few students will join us, and it just kind of depends on, are we having 3 new students join us in 2nd grade? Are they all boys? Are they girls? Because, that might require a little bit of changes as well, and that's why we do wait until August to send those letters out, just because we don't want to have to make a change, because it's I'm putting myself in my 1st grade shoes, and I think that would be catastrophic to know that I was supposed to get this person for my teacher, and all of a sudden getting a new letter knowing this was switching, even though they're both good options, but just having that, so trying to avoid that as well. And I do want to throw in here that we accept any parent requests for teachers, but I do want to make sure that it's noted that we cannot always accommodate those requests. We do our best to make that happen, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. So we do it when we can make it work, but sometimes it can't happen. Literacy plan, we have that finished and submitted for the 24-25 school year. There were some significant changes in that due to requirements for the READ Act. So we were able to remove a few of the items that were no longer necessary, and then adding in some of the requirements from the READ Act. So I was able to have the assistance of some of the folks here at school to help with that, and then I also ran it past Jen Schwankel, who has been working with us from the co-op. So she was able to help finalize that as well. So big shout out to her for assisting with that. Elementary summer enrichment program, that is starting up tomorrow. And that will be 3 weeks for 3 days in June, and then the same setup, 3 weeks, 3 days each week in July, following the 4th of July weekend. If you can call it a weekend, it's not Thursday, but we don't want to interfere with that. So we have 7 staff members who are heading that. They are ready to roll. They are excited to come in and assist with that. We have, as of right now, we have 44 students who are registered for that. So I think it's a good number. And we do have preschool this year, and this is the first year that we're offering. So I should say preschoolers going into kindergarten have the opportunity to attend that. So we're excited to give them the opportunity to come in as well. And I just want to say just a thank you to all the staff this year for all of the time they did it. It was I was thinking, depending on how you look at it, it was an exceptionally fast year. Thinking about from the beginning of the school year to right now, and it just flew by. But then if you start looking at different sections, homecoming, that seems like forever ago. January with our slight pipe leaking, that seems like 2 years ago to me. So just everything that you jam into one school year. So even though it goes by fast, there's a lot that get jammed in there. And I just want to thank all of our, not just teachers, but all of our staff for everything that they've done this year to help make it a successful year number 2 here in this building. And going above and beyond when it came to some of the shifting around. Not to bring that up again, but just it was a lot for our teachers and staff to assist with all of that. So I just want to thank them for going above and beyond with that. And again, just finishing up with carpeting and in the middle of that right now. I'm back to 100%. So I appreciate everything that they did for that. And as a secondary thank you, personally, I just want to say that this being my last board meeting, I just want to thank just all of the staff, community, parents, and students that I've been able to interact with over the last 11 years. It's been a fantastic experience, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. So I thank everybody for that. Unless there's any questions.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
teacher and
That's good. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So quick question though, about the
Yes.
class rosters, if they're coming out in August and a parent has the opportunity to request a change, what time in August? First part, last part? A week before
Usually,
school starts, or-
we've been shooting for the first week,
Okay,
and I would say that typically, the time to make your request was about 2-3 weeks ago, because once we do start to get things set, it becomes more and more difficult to do that. If you were to say in April, May, could we maybe have this teacher? It's a lot easier to kind of plan ahead for that than now when we have, sped caseloads or in certain classes. Multilingual students are within their certain classes and their schedule are getting straightened out because you really lose a lot of the flexibility when it comes to that then. And then you kind of look at, well, to make this work, Mark wants to be in this classroom. Well, to make that work, now I'm gonna have to flip John to his classroom. Is that a fair trade-off, or is it fair to John for that fit too? So there's just a lot to look at with that. So again, not saying that it can't be done, but just knowing that, if we're not able to meet a request and you get your letter and realize that this isn't the teacher that we were hoping for, it wasn't because we just didn't want to, it was because that there was reasons that didn't allow for us to have that happen.
so were parents notified that they could do it earlier or not?
No, and to me, it's not I know some districts, they don't even accept requests. But to me, I feel like if we're able to accommodate someone's request, I have no problem doing that. So it's kind of if someone shoots me a message, or if the teacher says, hey, this parent asked if they can have this teacher next year, I'm like, okay, I have just a document that I keep it all in. And if we can make it work, great. But just knowing that that's not always the case.
Okay, any other questions? If not, all right, who's next? Doug Wheaton, who's not here, but we can see his report here in our packet. And he touches on some graduation, discipline, dress code, and some upcoming and ongoing work there. Let me read down here. Leisure, okay, Josh Schmitz.
Sure. Good evening to all. Today, I share with you that we were very active in the hiring season. So are many other public schools across the state. Just so you know too, and so the public is aware, we publish all of our educational positions, teachers, support staff, administration on a post called EdPost. And that originally started with St. Cloud State University. St. Cloud State University was one of the very first teacher schools or teacher colleges in the state of Minnesota. And so that's where we started. EdPost updates have changed this year. They now have to be updated every 7 days. So it's on the administrator in each building to make sure that those EdPosts are updated every 7 days if they have not been filled. For some tier 1 and some tier 2 licenses, you have to prove that it's been on one of those posting boards for 15 days or in some cases 60 days. Administration currently is responsible for putting all the numbers, because every time you repost, it's a new set of numbers. So therefore, if it is going to be 15 days, it's 3 different posting numbers we would have to give to Pelsby. Pelsby has also opened up their own job board, I guess, for Minnesota, and it's now a requirement for Minnesota public schools to be able to also publish on their website too. So you can use EdPost, you can do it on social media, you can do it in your local newspapers, but you must now do it through Pelsby as well. Public schools will be required to use Minnesota School Board jobs for any tier 1 or out-of-field permission, posting as early as July 1st of 2024. And I mentioned that we're in the middle of the hiring season, and so is everybody else. When I wrote these notes late last week, there were 6,722 educational related jobs that were posted on that site. So I think there was over 75 pages of different postings that were on that. So a lot of demand within the educational realm. Mitchell made the comment that they'll carpet right now. The replacement has begun in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade rooms. And we are using Florida Ceiling and Wilmer, and that's who originally had the contract when the school was built and the carpet was put in. Reminder for why we're installing the carpeting: because there was standing water on it, it voided our warranty, and so that is why it needs to be replaced. It was clean, it was free from any germs or mold, this winter, but it did void our warranty, so we are replacing that carpeting as we can. I believe all the carpeting it's gonna be used for summer school has already been taken care of, so those teachers already moved back into their classrooms, so they have that available. Administration will continue to update the student handbooks and the staff handbooks, just so that expectations are very clear as we come back to school. As Judd mentioned in his report, some of the changes in, not changes, but updates and expectations with just dress code, and then also too with the discipline matrix was a help for the administration. Last year it did give a level of consistency, to things. Still, the administration has they can make the decision whether it's appropriate or not, or what the decision is going to be. But that matrix was very, very helpful. A gentleman by the name of Matt Captain has become the new Wabasso High School principal, and he is going to be doing some intern hours this summer with me because he is pursuing to get his superintendent licensure. So if you see that name or hear that name or see him in the building, I'll introduce you to him. Mr. Westbrock, as our technology director, he and I have been collaborating quite a bit this spring about our mentor and our mentee program, and the possibility of adding some different layers, especially with self-reflection during the year, in which people look at how has their growth been in the first quarter, what do I still need in regards to support, so that it's meeting. We want to meet the needs of the kids, but we need to meet the needs of our staff too, and Jesse does a very good job within that program. Mr. Kent has been in communication, as he mentioned, with the MDE REDACT personnel, also Jennifer Schwankel from SWWC, and also letters representatives to be able to get the material. We already have elementary staff that took material home for the summer to begin their education in that way. And he also has been working on the Praise Local Literacy page, or local literacy plan, and that we do need to post on our webpage. That's public. What our plan is with that. Dennis Laumeier, he's the Benson superintendent. He'll be Mitch's superintendent this next year. He has been my mentor this last school year, and not only has he been a great person, but just a great resource, and extremely helpful. It's been extremely helpful, just his guidance this year, because he's always been one phone call or one text away. Whenever we're at meetings, he always seeks me out just to pick my brain, and it's been very good. I was honored to be able to speak at the 2024 McCray graduation. Tremendous support of our graduates that evening. We had 50 graduates walk across the stage, and for every graduate that was smiling and proud of their accomplishments, there was 8 to 10 people in the audience smiling just for them too. What a great accomplishment, and what a great evening that was. My June homework. I have to dig into what was the impact now of the 2024 legislative session. Currently, earn safe and sick time still, has some asterisks next to it, and then also to the READ Act, they've made some changes to that too. They've given public schools some extensions, but just to kind of give you an idea of just hours. If you're a kindergarten through 5th grade teacher and you're responsible for teaching reading, which is just about 100% of those people, those folks at McCray this next year will put in 34 hours within the school day, whether it's during a PD day or a Monday where there's not school, and an additional probably 34 hours outside of the school to get their education done. That's a lot to ask. And there's also this compensation that goes along with that. So the legislature is hearing that from many schools, not just rural school districts like ourselves, but others too, because it is a lot. And that's just 1 year. And that's a 2-year program with letters. Now is the time. Summer 2024 is verification of school and school district information for the fiscal year ahead. There is a abbreviation, an acronym to MDE called EDIAM, and that's the Educational Identity and Assessment Management Security System. And often Kim brings to my attention, okay, remember Josh, you're the Iowa. It doesn't mean I'm a Hawkeye. Okay, but it means I'm the identified official with authority that I've got to go in and check this box that, yep, Kim has done this. Yep, our administration has done this. Yep, this report has been made. So it's a series of checks and balances that happens throughout the year. Working currently with a woman by the name of Lisa Gregor from Southwest West Central. Right now there's an MDE mentor grant that specifically is to help brand new special education students or special education teachers. to give them some support. It's needed for our general population of mainstream teachers, but it is for our SPED teachers too. Project updates. If you look to the north of the building, the update is dirt. It's every day there's more sand and more gravel that is moved in there. But there are some things that you can begin to see too. If you look out there and you look to the east, you can see 2 goalposts that have been put up. That is where the practice football field would be. That's a grass field. If you keep coming this direction, you will see curb that has begun to be put in for the parking lot that is going to be added into that area. If you keep coming to the west, you are going to see concrete that's been put down for where the home bleachers are going to be. And there's some footings for where the away bleachers are, and then also two uprights, 2 I-beams for where the scoreboard will be. Keep going to the west, and you will see the poles for the softball and baseball backstops. So that's what you would see if you went out there today. But in terms of like what's going to take place between now and like the end of this week, June the 14th, it's a lot of soil corrections, turf field substance ongoing. They have torn down probably half the bleachers in Maynard, and I noticed that today they brought over on a flatbed truck the handicap ramp. So that is over here right now, and they'll begin to assemble that as soon as the rest of the pieces have arrived. And I want to thank you, Mr. Kent, for your giving to McRae, for giving up your time and energy, and we're sad to see you go, but Benson is very fortunate to have you. So thank you for all you do.
All right, any questions for Josh?
Just a comment, with that extra room that we're not using for the kindergarten class, might that be a consideration if we need extra space for SPED?
It certainly could. And I have not had that conversation with Mr. Kent on which of those rooms will be used for, but yes. Yep. There's also consideration of, there are 2 rooms that were used, one primarily for study lab and one for driver's ed, that also could be explored to use as classroom space, whether it's for special education or other classrooms that are maybe growing a little bit. So thank you.
Good to have that flexibility. Okay, 6.2. We have the committee reports, do you? Okay. Then we get 6.3 board discussion.
I just wanted to bring up, Carmel and I had a chance to attend graduation last Friday. And for me, I thought it was fantastic. Like, to be part of kind of a really big day for these kids was really, really cool. And, you know, we're watching them and they're watching the video. And like some eyes were getting a little glistening and kind of teary. And it was really neat to be part of it. I think, I'm sure for a lot of teachers and staff, like, it can be, you know, kind of a job, kind of a grind, but like to be part of that achievement for those kids was really, really cool. And I think is just a really neat thing to experience and a way to show all the good things that are happening in this district. So I enjoyed it a ton.
The ceremony was nicely done. It was nice
Yeah.
how the screen had that particular graduate's picture up there and some information while they walked across the stage. And
Yeah.
so kudos to everyone involved with that.
That's all I have.
And thank you both for attending.
Okay, now we've got 7.0 business items. We need a motion to approve the fiscal year 2025 original budget. I'll make that motion. Second?
That was good.
Right now. Questions or discussion on that? Is this the final one, Kim, or no?
No, this is we have to have a budget in place.
Oh,
Right.
okay, that's the one that is,
This one's the
okay.
original.
Okay. Okay, if no other questions, those in favor say aye. Aye, those opposed nay. Okay, 7.2 is a motion to approve the Minnesota State High School League membership resolution.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Art, second.
I'll second that.
Deb. Okay, is this one we're gonna have to read here?
It's a resolution.
Um,
That's what I'm trying.
Yeah. You have it there, did you find it?
I was
There you
looking.
go.
Oh, okay.
You need to read the one.
Yeah, you just gotta read the box.
Don't read don't read the box, just the top.
The
just
top part?
Yeah.
Okay, resolved that the governing board or entity of McRae High School located in the state of Minnesota delegates the control, supervision, and regulation of interscholastic activities and athletics referred to in Minnesota statute section 128C.001 to the Minnesota High School League, and so hereby certifies to the State Commissioner of Education as provided for by Minnesota statutes. Further resolved that the school listed is authorized by this, the governing board of said school district or school to renew its membership in the Minnesota State High School League and to participate in the approved interscholastic activities and athletics sponsored by said league and its various subdivisions. Further resolved that this governing board or entity hereby adopts the constitution, bylaws, policies, rules, and regulations of said league, and all amendments thereto as the same as are published in the latest edition of the league's official handbook on file at the office of the school district or school, or as appears on the league's website, as the minimum standards governing participation in said league-sponsored activities and athletics. Further, the administration and responsibility for determining student eligibility and for the supervision of such activities and athletics are assigned to the official representatives identified by the governing board or entity. Signing this resolution for membership affirms that this governing board has reviewed all required membership materials provided by the league, which defines the purpose of the value of education-based activity and athletic programs and defines each member school's responsibility. Should I keep going, or do you think that's? All right.
One question about the cost.
Yes,
Stay the same?
they don't know yet.
Oh, because I thought you said in there. it's
He
gonna
said
go
it
down.
looks like it's gonna go down, but, so there's a preliminary cost that has come out, and then they adjust it and look at
Okay.
what they did last year, so I can't give you the exact amount. But I'll look and see if I can find the email that told a little bit about that.
Right, any other comments about that, I see, not those in favor, oh, well, I gotta do roll call, Deb,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
John?
Yep.
Carmel?
Yes.
And I'm yes, and that's, so that is passing. Okay, 7.3, I need a motion to approve the 24-25 literacy plan.
I'll make that motion.
Carmel. John? Any question on that? Those in favor say aye. Aye, opposed nay. Okay, 7.4.
Could you, I noticed we have the MREA
Yeah.
invoice in there. I don't see that on the agenda.
Oh,
Sorry, I missed that one.
Can we just add it?
Yeah.
Okay.
we'll make it 7.5 here.
Okay.
MREA.
Should I look for the first one?
Okay.
You actually have it on this one.
Yeah, it's on this last one.
Yes.
Oh, but not in the-
It's the one we just did. I don't know how to change that.
Yeah, I did, yeah. The proceedings didn't match up to the agenda. A couple things. Is that what I did?
Yeah, for this, yeah, it's just a different between the two sheets.
So that's a separate, that's separate than high school.
That's
Yeah,
separate from the high school.
Yeah.
Well, you know, let's finish this one here, this,
The literacy in the right,
yeah,
yeah.
the literacy plan here, that was a motion made by Carmel and seconded by John. No, we did vote on that.
Yeah.
We did,
Yeah.
okay,
So
So-
the MREA.
so let's go down to, we'll call MREA 7.4. Okay, and this is membership again in here?
Yeah.
Okay, I need a motion, accept the membership in the.
So moved.
Yeah, second?
Second.
Carmel, okay, any discussion on that? Not those in favor say aye. Aye, those opposed nay. Okay, then the last one will be 7.5, need a motion to approve the write-in vote resolution.
Can I ask before we have a motion, what were the changes? I know you were gonna call. I didn't know if any changes or were there some?
Yep. Yep, it was. We added the line. If not enough people filed for open position and one of the open positions needed to be filled by a writing candidate, then all write-in votes will be counted. And so I talked to Michelle May about this, and shared with her some of our concerns and things like that, like how would somebody know to request that their write-in votes are counted if they don't know they were written in? And she said, well, usually that somebody is running a write-in campaign to do that. But she said, so then if you're afraid of that, pick the second option, which is what we had picked anyway. So where they would only be counted. So what happens when people have the ballot, there's an oval by each of the 5 candidates, and there's an oval by the write-in. So when you run that ballot through the counter, it will tally that a write-in vote was on the ballot. And if all the write-in votes end up being more than somebody who was running it, who had filed, then they would go back and count all the write-in ballots. But the write-in total has to be,
Exceed the.
yeah,
yes.
equal or more than a filed
Okay.
person to go back and count. She also said, we do not have to do a resolution, we can just leave it and force them to count every single write-in ballot if we want for a year or 2 or whatever. Once we do a resolution, then it stays in place until we undo it. But we talked through like all the little scenarios we had talked about, and she pretty much, this should cover it, but it's up to you guys. If you wanna wait a year and just see what happens, because we do have a school board election this year.
I'm okay with what you just described, where if you meet that threshold, then of course do the work and figure out who it was, but I waste everybody's time
Yeah.
if you don't meet it.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of it.
I just think about transparency in the election process, that if somebody's gonna write somebody's name in, and granted, Minnie Mouse, Mickey Mouse show up, but if somebody else's name does show up, I think it's transparency.
Well, I'm still gonna ask for a motion, you can take a vote. And we can have some more discussion too, but, needing a motion then to approve the write-in vote resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, John, second,
I'll second.
Ronell. Any other discussion on that? Okay. If not, then I'll do the, voice vote. Deb?
No,
Deb is a no, Mark,
Yeah, I'll be a yes.
John,
Yes.
Carmel,
Yes.
and I'll be a yes, so that's passing. Okay, there's a list of our future meetings below that, in 9.0, adjournment meeting, a meeting motion. I'll make that, how about that? Second?
I'll second.
All right. Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries, and we are adjourned at 7:20.